What's up, everybody? Especially to you, my brother Junior. How's it? This is Zaldi. Welcome back to Talking Story About Smoking, Session 10 Illogical Loop and Disassociation. Last sesh was about being challenged. When you challenge yourself, you then saw that illogically, your case for a solid fortress of having a cigarette, dip, vape, cigar, whatever it is, and whether it really made you relax is now revealing cracks in that foundation. You're beginning to notice that the hit, the puff, the dip is naturally dropping in rank of have to have. More like, meh, whatever's. Next, there's this thing called disassociation. Carr talks about smoking as a sinister trap. When he starts explaining smoking as a sinister trap, first, I began to reframe and realign my internal representation of smoking as all your fault. Then the truth got massaged like lomi, into not all your fault, transforming me by disassociating the smoking as your fault to the trap. Who and what is the trap? Let me tell you, can't never go into that rabbit hole, but I did. It is the mass manipulation. These are traps for the subliminal mind, the tricksters. Who are they? It is the massive tobacco companies, nicotine dealers, the puff pimps, or I call them the Heisenberg hookers. These guys not only went hook you, they hook you on an anecdote, like the steamhead vapors, Zin dippers, Copenhagen chewers. They're trying to forget you. That's the same thing. So, I remember listening to this behavioral biologist, Robert Sapolsky, and there are undeniable behaviors that every human being has. There is a base layer of that brain, also known as the reptilian brain, primarily for survival. For example, when person is in survival mode, you go through instinctive behaviors, the three F's: fight, flight, or sex. I took that from Sapolsky. Then there are instinctual behaviors at the higher level for survival, such as social acceptance, and more building blocks on top of that reptilian brain. You can read his book, and he goes into more detail, but what you need to know in this session is that the Heisenberg hookers know our instinctual behavior and have that map. They exploit it through all channels. That's why it's called sinisters. These guys, they use billboards, commercials, Facebook posts, X, whatever their name is, X, Twitter, XAI, IG. We keep going. Google searches, TikTok. This is how they do them. The more they put whatever they want, planting seeds in front of you, subtly and consistently, you can automatically adopt as acceptable and then likable and finally desirable. All that is pre-staged. Then they attack by making get less of it and in high demand. That is why you and I end up buying that scooter twice the cost. And you remember the Elmo dolls, the e-bike, Converse shoes, Air Jordans. How's this? Pumpkin spiced macchiato. You notice they don't throw that all the time. As I was saying these things, you came up with 10 more items. Easy. Now that we identified our sinister, we move on to another issue. We address another phenomenon contributing to the trap, the illogical loop. After the trap, I fell into the trap. I started and continued to smoke despite knowing it tasted bad. It costed money, and I am the most frugal pake guy you know, and the health risk, yet I still wouldn't smoke them. These are called unconscious contradictions running around my head. Finally, the trap never announced to me how dangerous it was. When I started, I was young and I was only innocently toying and playing with it. Reminds me of when I went surfing right after a storm down at John's Reef. I said to myself, I just gonna play with these 5-footers on the inside. Then I was then never have the sets. Then I was waiting for the next set. But during that time, the silent drift and undertow was pulling me out like the moving walkways at the airports. Just sitting there, the undertow just swooshed me out with the monster sets. I was right there with the monster sets. I never liked Peter. I realized that I was ways outside and I was paddling and stroking with all my might just to slow down the pool. Obviously, I survived it, but oi, caramba. That is how smoking got us. Smokes and mirrors, I tell you. Bamboozled, hacked, got juked. First, it started with a choice. Then, you are deep in the quicksand. It hooked me subtly and kept me caught in its net to this illusional delusion. No feel bad. I was manipulated to thinking was only games too. Naturally, it was purely business anyway. Except I was holding the wrong end of the deal. So, it's so trippy how the bit went flip. Amazingly, when your bit flips, you'll trip too. Remember when I said Unks never talk about the hypnotherapist again through the rest of the book? He kinda did, but hidden. Quote, I spent 33 years trying to escape from that maze like all smokers. I couldn't understand it. Listen, quote, however, due to a combination of unusual circumstances, none of which reflect any credit on me, end quote. There it is. That's it. Who do you think he's talking about? Okay, then he finishes saying, I wanted to know why previously it had been so desperately difficult to stop, and yet when I finally did, it was not only easy, but enjoyable. The main point of this session is for you to reflect and realize that you are utterly unprepared for the Waikiki sneaky punch from these Heisenberg hookahs. We're doing this together, Junior, identifying the problem. The more we identify it, we can disassemble it. And after we disassemble it, we finally can prepare our defenses and counter-deploy our attack. Well, this concludes session 10. The next one is session 11, Nicocane. That sounds nuts, huh? Nicocane. You are intuitively catching on that each session is getting juicier than the last. So with that, my brother Junior, ahui ho, Karen.